Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Tuesday, November 26th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The game against Michigan is in 4 days. I'm sure it will shock you to learn that that is what we're going to be talking about today. Got a chance on Monday to hear from Michigan head coach Sherrone Moore and a couple of the Wolverines. On this show, you're just going to be hearing from Sherrone Moore, and you're just going to be hearing about the stuff that he had to say about this weekend's game, and of course, the rivalry against Ohio State. There's always a lot to talk about around this game. I want to first give a thanks to our friends at BCSN. You can go to their website at bcsnnation.com. Thank you to them for providing the video and audio for us to use on this show. All right, let's start with Sherrone Moore. Big takeaways from him from last year's game. This is the first time he's the full-time head coach of Michigan for the Ohio State game, but he was the guy on game day for Michigan last year. So what was it like? What did he learn about being the guy on the sideline, making all the decisions during that game? You're going to hear his answer, and then a quick follow-up and another answer.
I mean, I think it was a lot of collaborative effort with Jesse and with those guys. I actually had to make decisions throughout the game to, whether timeouts, all those things. But, really the rivalry piece is the rivalry piece, and it was it's intense, it's fun, it's what you want to do. So, the strategy last year was to call it pretty aggressive, and that's what we did. So we'll continue internally to have those decisions as a group.
How do you think how you handled that responsibility in that game maybe contributed to you getting the full-time job this offseason?
Wasn't trying to become the head coach at Michigan based off that game. I was just trying to help our team win that game and make the best decision for us at that time.
Ohio State enters this game ranked number 2 in the nation and with one of the very best offenses and one of the very best defenses in the country. Sherrone Moore was asked about the challenge posed by this year's Ohio State defense.
Yeah, they're as good as any defense in the country. I feel complete defense, got great skill, got great talent, do a good job with the scheme, something we're familiar with. We studied, we watched, and they're a really good team. So we have to go execute at a high level to go win.
The fact that Ohio State has some fairly talented players and a pretty shiny record, that's not the only challenge that Michigan's going to face this weekend. The atmosphere inside Ohio Stadium probably going to be at least somewhat to slightly to maybe very hostile towards the Wolverines. So how do you prepare guys for that atmosphere and what they're going to face in Columbus?
Yeah, we'll have those conversations internally as a group, how we'll do that. But obviously crowd noise in practice and doing those things, and I think our guys love those environments. We'll definitely increase the crowd noise, and you put it in the indoor, it gets pretty loud, but we'll definitely have to weather the elements and create some noise and distractions outside too to make sure we understand what the weather's going to be like.
Ryan Day will frequently talk about playing with emotion, but not letting emotion play with you. This is definitely a game where that is going to be true on both sides. Is there an emotional tax? That was the phrase that was used in the question. Is there an emotional tax that comes with playing in this rivalry?
I don't know about an emotional tax. It's fun. It's everything you want to be. When you grow up as a kid, whether you want to be a coach, whether you want to be a player, this is what you want to do. You want to be in these types of games. So it's awesome to be a part of. It's a lot of work. It's something you think about all year, and it's an exciting time for us to be in.
Sherrone Moore seems reasonably confident headed into this game, although the Wolverines are more than a 3-touchdown favorite at the moment. So how much of that confidence that he has comes down to what happens in the trenches?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of this game is it's the rushing battle, and I think you've seen that every year is the team that wins the rushing battle wins the game. So I know they're going to be focused on the same thing, so that's got to be an emphasis for us to do.
This is not the first time that Michigan has come into Ohio Stadium as an underdog. That was actually the case in 2022, and of course they won that game. So how much does that impact the Wolverines' mentality coming into this game?
I don't think that none of that matters in this game. It doesn't matter the records, doesn't matter anything, the spread, that doesn't matter. It's all about the game. So we got to go execute. We got to go handle what we have to handle to go win.
When you go around the field and kind of do the head-to-head matchups of different units, there's a lot of spots where you would probably give a substantial edge to Ohio State coming into this game. But one place where that might not be the case is down in the trenches, where Michigan's defensive line is a big strength and Ohio State's offensive line, they've had to do some shuffling there. They're on version 4 of the offensive line this year. So how can Michigan win that battle this year?
Yeah, we got to do our jobs up front. Obviously our guys played really well last game. I thought they played with, great technique, great fundamentals, great eyes, discipline. So they've got to do that this game and do it at an even higher level. So they'll be prepared. The guys have been in since the game broke, watching film and doing those things, and as they are every week. So really excited about that matchup.
College football coaches are, of course, always very secretive around injuries, never more so than in the week before a big game. But credit to the reporter who bravely took on the opportunity to ask the question. So, Sherrone Moore, what's the latest on injured stars tight end Colston Loveland and quarterback Will Johnston?
Yeah, we'll see. I think Colston's trending in a good direction. We'll get a better feel in the next couple of days, and same thing with Will. So we'll see.
Sherrone Moore has had the opportunity to be on both a winning Michigan team in this rivalry game and a losing Michigan team as well over the years. How does that impact his message to the team this week?
I think every team's different. Every team's different. Every message is going to be different. So obviously, you've been on the loss side and been on the wins. And the thing that is similar for the wins is the preparation, and that's really what's going to come down to, and how we prepare mentally and physically and emotionally for the game. Because there's going to be ups and downs, adversity in the game. So we got to prepare for that and make sure we're ready for that as players and coaches.
This Michigan team lost a lot of players off of their national championship team from last year, but of course, do have some veteran players back who've played in this rivalry game a few times over the years. Is he going to be leaning on some of those guys to communicate their message to the team?
I mean, I think there'll be times, we always do, we have at some point leaders of the team talk to the team about different things. So those will come up at some point, but that really happens organically.
Sherrone Moore has been around the Michigan program for quite a while now, but of course was not born into it in the way that Jim Harbaugh was. He was sort of indoctrinated into it in the way that Ryan Day was. So who was it that indoctrinated Sherrone Moore into the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry?
I mean, everybody. When you walk in the building, obviously Jim, being around him, but really just being around and being at Michigan, being here for 7 years, it's something you can't forget. You just see, as soon as you walk in the building, I mean, you see the pictures, you see everything, you understand what the importance of the game and what it means, and as soon as you put on the maize and blue, that's the first thing you hear about is that game. So the fans, the people, coaches here, the coaches of the past, they make sure you understand what it's all about.
There's a lot on the line this weekend for both teams. For Ohio State, it's a shot at the Big Ten championship and a spot in the college football playoff. For Michigan, it's bragging rights. Is it also, though, potentially the opportunity to make people forget the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're not going to forget about what's happened, but I think we're using as motivation, for this game. And, this game means a lot. It's just, every year it means that much. And each team could be 0-11 or 11-0, and the records go out the window in this game, and you really just care about winning the game. So that's what our guys are focused on, and doing everything we can to go win.
Michigan has had let's charitably call it an up and down year in Ann Arbor, but they are coming in off of a week off and then a 50-6 win over Northwestern. So does Sherrone Moore feel like they're playing their best ball of the season coming into this game?
Yeah, it feels like it. Got to go prepare though. So you can't rest off the laurels of last game and be satisfied. You still got to stay hungry, and that's what we got to go do.
After Saturday's game, you heard Indiana head coach Curt Cignetti talking about how loud and surprisingly loud Ohio Stadium was and what an incredible atmosphere it was. Should be another electric environment this weekend as well for the Buckeyes and Wolverines. So if you're Sherrone Moore, how do you prepare your team for a setting like that?
Yeah, I think you put them in these environments, whether it's practice and different things, and you try to cause uncomfortability throughout practice, whether it's noise, whether it's movement, whatever you can do to put the guys in a situation. But our guys are excited and ready for it, so it's more of calming them down than bringing them up, because if you can't get hyped for this game, then you probably don't have a pulse, and there's not much you got to say to get them hyped for this one.
Here's another one, a little like the injury question earlier, where you're probably not going to get an answer, but hey, worth a shot. Does Sherrone Moore anticipate Jair Hill starting at corner on Saturday?
We'll see. We'll see what happens in practice. I thought Amir Hall stepped up in a big way this game, but look for Jair to jump back and do the same thing. So we'll see how this week progresses.
Mentioned earlier that this is the first year that this is officially Sherrone Moore's program. He was the head coach last year for the Ohio State game, but it was still Jim Harbaugh's program, whether he was watching at home or not. Harbaugh, of course, has moved on, now coaching the LA Chargers. They have a big game on Monday night. But has Sherrone Moore heard from Jim Harbaugh yet this week?
No, I haven't talked to him in a couple of days, and I might send him a text tonight and wish him luck and everything. But game day, I try to let him be. So I know he's pretty locked in.
Heading into the game as a big underdog, we have seen big upsets happen in this series before. What gives Sherrone Moore the belief that the Michigan Wolverines can win this game this weekend? And do his players have that belief as well?
Yeah, I think they do. I think this game it's all bets are off, and the guys are prepared mentally, physically to go attack it. We've had great preparation up to this point, and then we got to get on the field and do it. So I feel like we can, but that's our job to go prepare to do it.
Here's someone else taking a crack at the Will Johnson news. Pete Thamel reported over the weekend that Will Johnson was going to be out for the year. So is Sherrone Moore disputing that report?
Yeah, I just go by what the doctors say, so I can't confirm or say anything else besides what the doctors tell us.
All year long, you hear coaches and players talk about how every game, you got to take every game seriously, treat every game the same. And then you get to Ohio State Michigan week, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, this is different. As they have painted on the wall at Michigan in the weight room, what did you do to beat Ohio State today? We've seen similar messages around the Ohio State facility, big wall with a countdown clock. So, yeah, I mean, you got to treat every game the same, but there's not a countdown clock to the Illinois game or the Indiana game. So how is this week different inside the football facility at Michigan?
I mean, you can feel it. You can feel the energy. It's not something you can really describe. It's just different. It's a different energy. It's a different moment. We all understand what it's about and what it feels like to be in the game. You know, the new guys, even the new guys. Jordan Marshall came up to me and hit me on the butt and said, "Coach, it's that time." And I said, "Yes, it is." So those guys know, and a guy from Ohio, but even the guys from down south, they understand what this game's about. So, obviously we're preparing like we have, and like we did last week, but they all understand the moment.
Michigan quarterback Davis Warren has taken some significant steps this year, becoming a much stronger player and a much better leader of the Michigan offense overall. But how prepared is he to play in an environment like the one he's going to face on Saturday?
Yeah, it's a hostile environment. It'll be as hostile as it's ever been there this weekend. So, but I think our guys embrace it, and we're going to embrace the noise, embrace the crowd, and go prepare like we can.
2 years ago, when Michigan came to Columbus, they beat the Buckeyes by taking some deep shots that people were not expecting. This year, Sherrone Moore has talked about not wanting to have Davis Warren have to do too much. They don't want anyone to try and be Superman in this game. So what is the fine line there between trying to hit some big plays but not trying to do too much?
Yeah, I can't tell you what we're going to do, but I think every year we go in that game and people say we can't throw it, and then all of a sudden there's throws, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden we can throw it or we can't run it. So really all we're going to do is go prepare and not worry about anything else. Put the best game plans we can together and go try to win.
As has been discussed with varying levels of excitement across the rivalry, Ohio State added a lot of talent this year. So is this year's team a different challenge for the Wolverines than previous seasons?
Last year they were really good too. So, people make all these references of it's different. Last year they had Marvin Harrison, now they have Jeremiah Smith. The defense is mostly the same guys except for Caleb Downs. So quarterback's different. He's playing really, really well, really efficient. And then they have another running back in there. But the other guy that they had running back was really good. So they're still a talented team. It's not like they have lost talent or they weren't as talented last year. They have that. They're just playing really good together.
One of the interesting storylines this week is that former Ohio State running backs coach Tony Alford, of course, now coaching the running backs at Michigan. Be interesting to see what kind of welcome he gets inside Ohio Stadium this weekend. But has Sherrone Moore talked to Tony Alford about what's going on inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center this week?
He's just going to add the value that he's continued to have. Obviously, he knows the building. He's been in there, and obviously we'll have conversations about that. But really, just everybody's going to do their job and the best of their ability to help us win.
And finally, there's a lot that on the Ohio State roster that presents a challenge to opposing teams. One of the things right at the top of that list is that wide receiver unit. You know the names: Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Ennis. You know all the names at this point. What is the challenge that the Wolverines are facing this weekend as they try and shut down that wide receiver unit?
Yeah, as good as a wide receiver crew you'll see in the country, probably. We saw a great one with Texas and Oregon, and this one is probably as good or better. Jeremiah Smith is as advertised. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, can make all the tough catches. So we got to do a great job disrupting him. And then, you got Emeka Mbuka, you got Carnell Tate, you got Brandon Ennis. So they got a lot of threats out there. So we've got to do a good job making it uncomfortable for the quarterback to distribute it to them, and then not getting them, in their comfort level. So they're going to make plays. They always do, and they will. But we got to limit those plays.
Well, that'll do it for now, but we're going to have many more shows coming for you this week. We'll let you hear from a couple Wolverine players, let you hear a little bit more from Sherrone Moore about topics other than specifically this game, some more general thoughts on his team and all that. That's all going to be coming up this week. And then, of course, on Tuesday, we're going to be hearing from Ryan Day and some of the Buckeye players heading into the game. Going to get the captains plus Will Howard. Should be some interesting conversation with them on Tuesday. Make sure you are subscribed at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. We're going to have a lot of content there. And make sure, just leave a tab open right now. Go ahead, type it in. I'll wait. BuckeyeHuddle.com. We are going to have a ton of coverage all week long. We're going to drop in plenty of articles. Man, there's going to be a lot to talk about on our message board, the Huddle Board presented by Jeff Ruby Steakhouse. Tons of content there already this week. Lots of conversations going on there. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Make sure you are subscribed to our podcast feeds as well. A lot of you guys are traveling this week, and sometimes listening is going to be easier than watching if you are driving. Please don't watch while you drive. Listen to them instead. Buckeye Weekly Podcast, Buckeyes TomOrrow Morning. Just search Buckeye Huddle. Subscribe to all those shows. Give you plenty of recruiting to talk about this week as well. Big recruiting weekend coming up. 5-star David Sanders, offensive tackle, visited last weekend. What's going on with that? Well, you can find some of that on our podcast. You can find even more on the Huddle Board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We hope to see you in all those places this week. That'll do it for now. We will be back with more shows in a lot less than a day. We will see you then.